I'm just kidding. Today we're going to do my Neutrogena because, it just makes me happy. And I do want to do, really, a real makeup with Stephanie for a minute. I switched my makeup from Bare Minerals to It Cosmetics. Game changer. Huh? Do I look less makeup-y?
Yes.
I love it. It's like I'm wearing nothing, but it still gives you great coverage. Check it out. Any women out there or men that like to wear makeup. Hey, you never know. I don't want to leave anyone out. I'll get you something. You want something, Roy?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of men wear makeup, especially in the industry.
Yeah, you do. If you go on television, yes.
Well, we're on camera. You're on camera more than I am. Get some lashes? No? Whatever. Anyways, that's all I got. You got anything?
No.
Okay. It Cosmetics. Go check it out. No, my makeup, it splattered all over the floor, and I couldn't get it off my stuff for the life of me. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm putting that on my face.
Yeah.
It's time to change.
Ding, 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 ding,
No,
ding.
are you proud?
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes in every Monday to Friday. So we roll into IE Newswire daily on Facebook Live and YouTube on a Fast Friday. Caught into that one pretty quick.
You sound so sad.
I sound so sad.
Yeah, you seem so blah.
Whoa.
It's the weather, huh?
Yeah, so all of a sudden it was a sunny, nice day, and all of a sudden, about 4 o'clock, poof, yes, poof, here comes the clouds and the raindrops and the very ominous-looking skies out there that are all over the Inland Empire. So if it starts to rain, the few of you that actually are out there driving or have a job to
you know
go
what?
to.
There's a lot of people that are out
Yes,
today.
have you noticed this week the traffic's
it's
been
more
picking
people
up?
are like, I'm going to go out.
Yes, we're saying that.
I like the clear roads. Now I'm kind of bummed a little bit.
The natives are getting restless out there.
For a minute, it was weird not seeing anybody out.
Yeah, it was like
it was eerie in a way, but now I kind of want it back.
Yeah, you got used to what it used to be back in the day out here, where there was 3 cars on the road at rush hour. That was rush hour. Was that? No, it was enjoyable. That it still is not bad. It's probably about where our road system can handle it. Maybe a little bit more, but we'll see on that. So, but do drive carefully if you are out there driving all across the plains on that. So we don't want any traffic accidents or anything harm. Because we know we're all going to die of coronavirus, you know that. That's why we're all locked down under these draconian measures and all the stuff that we're going through. We should have...
Go, negative Ned.
of that. I'm one of the few voices out there that's saying, what the heck is going on with this? I think we've way overreacted to this whole thing. I think finally, we're getting some cracks in the wall. You just heard the press conference with that. They had the one yesterday opening up America. Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, started phasing it in. His his stay-at-home order expires April 30th. He said on April 27th he will lay his plans if he's going to extend it or just let it drop.
And who was that? The mayor of Texas?
Governor of Texas,
Governor
Greg
of
Abbott.
Texas?
Do
you think ours will follow suit?
No.
Damn
No. Good.
Why?
That's why I put, if you look at my post up there, that's why I put California/NY governor, and I either use Newsom or Cuomo of that, because they're the ones that are working the opposite side of this.
Well, I don't like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And more people are not. Like Michigan, we played the one of the rally up there where they were all in their cars. Some were outside, but most of them were in their cars at Lansing, Michigan, with that dingy broad up there, Whitmer, whoever the governor is.
Great choice of word.
Yes. Trying the same thing, trying to lock things down even tighter. When at the press conference, the vice president, I think Pence, said today, we have enough testing kits to implement phase 1, which is the first part of testing and all that rigmarole of all that. And we'll get into the nuts and bolts, hopefully, when Kelly Victory's on at the bottom of the hour on that. But talk about some dumb things of what's going on. It started off, and see if you can pick up that one video in the IEN 11, and it says start at -6. That's the one on that. So it started off with a Twitter war. Trump tweeted in the morning to Andrew Cuomo about, hey, quit whining about all the stuff you're not getting or this or that. So we provided hospitals for you, and Cuomo came back on his press conference, said you're not giving us funding for testing, and crocodile tears, and he said we are not getting any unrestricted funds. The states are. Well, that's a play on language. How many billions are you getting in restricted funds for the state of New York? He didn't put that out, but he said. You could tell Andrew Cuomo was pissed after the reporter asked him the question, read him the Trump tweets. So he said, the reason why we geared up for this was your predictions from your CDC and Fauci and Birx and Navarro that said 2 million could die, 150,000, 200,000. So play the clip of that, starting that. This is Andrew Cuomo at his news conference this morning about 10 o'clock our time, so let her roll when she goes.
Projections were wrong. Head of the CDC, Peter Navarro, and head of the White House Corona Task Force. Fire them all. That's what I say. Fire them. You know the show with what the president did? You're fired. If he wants to fire someone for projections, retake his TV career, those are the three documented.
Fire the CDC?
So if he wants to blame someone for the projections, blame the CDC, Peter Navarro, and whoever's on the coronavirus task force, because it's their projections.
Can you explain a little bit about why
Peter Navarro.
And he mentioned Fauci and Birx by name of that in the first part of that, but he said fire them all. He said it's your predictions that we're in, which is what we have said on this show. Dr. Kelly Victory will probably back that up, but we'll ask her personally. She's a trauma surgeon expert to disastrous preparedness, expert consultant to companies like Walgreens. She's been saying this the whole time, that the numbers are wildly off. They were basing it on data that was not correct, or they weren't getting the complete data that they should have.
But who's saying to fire everybody? Trump or that
No,
guy?
that was Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York.
He's saying fire
Yes.
everybody.
Because he's saying that's why we ordered the hospitals
Exactly.
that you got
Right.
and everything, because of these dire projections and stuff. And that's ground zero, where we have, 11,000 have died of coronavirus. And then it got into the statistics and stuff, and they're having to peel them back because, like they said, if you got hit by a truck and you had coronavirus, you're counted as a
exactly.
coronavirus death.
But what if maybe the numbers are lower because we stayed inside and we did that more? They figuring, like, how are you going to figure that out?
Yeah, how
It
are you
makes no
going?
sense.
It is going. You're never going to prove 100%. That's what the whole justification for all the lockdown measures and the masks and the no social distancing and canceling all the events and everybody stay at home. Well, if we wouldn't have done that, these numbers would have happened. Maybe, maybe not, maybe somewhere in between. We probably would have a few more deaths. And the model of this is like Sweden, the Scandinavian countries, Sweden, Finland, Denmark. Sweden has put very few measures in. Denmark and Finland and Norway have, basically had measures like this. Sweden's numbers a little bit higher, not much on the death rate. But like they said, we're going to develop herd immunity. We're going to take the initial hit, but we're going to get immune to it. If it comes back on the rebound, which you hear Fauci and everybody talking about, we think we're going to save more lives on the end. And you're not going to know that until after the fact. I mean, you're not going to know exactly what the numbers is, but we have these incubators, per se, of different test tubes of what's going on. You have that. You have the example in the United States, 7 states, led up by North and South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, Arkansas, Wyoming and Utah, I believe, that have no orders, no stay-at-home orders, no mandates or anything from the state down. Some of the cities have lockdowns or stuff, and they're not suffering any big, humongous outbreaks or death or anything else in there. So it is like California. We haven't even cracked 1,000 deaths yet in a state of 40 million when we're having all this.
What are we at right now?
About 985, I think, right now in California. And as the LA Times article points out, 80% of the people have underlying health conditions, and 30% of the cases are in nursing homes, 70% in Long Beach. And I'll go back to the example I brought up yesterday, which is Kern County, which is the greater Bakersfield area. Just over the Grapevine, when you go over there, or go over to Tehachapi and that, about 1 million population. Guess how many deaths they have in Kern County?
0.
Well, close, 3.
Oh.
540 cases of that. They're suffering no ill effects. 16 counties have 0 deaths. 43 are in the single digits. We only have 15 counties that have double digits. Kern County is set at a 0.3% of death rate per 1,000. LA is at 4. LA has a problem. We go back to the density and all that other stuff. Again, we're looking at that, and that's what I'm saying. A lot of us are looking at. There's a lot of areas in California that could be opened up right now. There's a lot of things we should be looking at of doing this. Yeah, there's if you're elderly, if you got underlying conditions in a nursing home, where you
You know what's weird though is like no kids seem to be getting this,
Yes.
and like no children are sick from it, which I mean is great. I'm not complaining about it, but kind of weird.
This epidemic
thing's
just
bizarre.
does not seem to affect anybody about under the age of 18 years old. I mean, we did have one death in Riverside County, the 21-year-old nursing assistant that died from it, but
Right.
That was like one. I mean, most of the deaths as we brought out yesterday in Riverside County, are people 65 and over, as is in most cases. So, again, there's a balance that's got to be struck on this, and like some of the experts have said, you've got to have that herd mentality. You've got to have that, or herd immunity, I should say, of that, where ultimately, that's what's probably going to save us. Or are we going to wait for 12 months, 18 months for a vaccine that may never come and may never work?
And I'm not going to get the vaccine even if it comes out. Neither will my children.
And there you go. I mean, so where on earth do they come up with this stuff of, we have to look at this stuff realistically. And sometimes you got to make some tough choices in here of that. And again, most of the people that have died from COVID-19 were probably going to die of something anyway fairly soon. They had many underlying conditions. They were elderly in a nursing home.
Gosh.
So it's not that we are, this is not like you said, this is not a pandemic that is killing 10-year-olds or something, or people in their 20s in large numbers.
Right.
It's not something, even if it gets to the worst case scenario and getting to the numbers and everything. But I want to get to this deal. There's a guy that owns a drag strip, Summit Raceway Park in Ohio. He said, the heck with this stuff. He said, I got $3 million invested in my facility. Nobody's paying my bills. So I have the first video. I think it starts at 12 million, the race video, if you get that. This is Bill Bader Jr. He's saying, I'm no expert. Play a little bit of the clip of 12 and then go to 4, and then we'll talk about it and we'll go to the 14 one.
Peaceful, which I would never advocate. I don't advocate violence ever. So I think we have a situation where the media isn't going to take their foot off the gas. I think we have a situation where these local governments are left with trying to determine how to restart the economy. There's a lot of uncertainty about how to do that. And a new Facebook friend, Conrad Allen, and I don't know if he's watching, I would imagine not, but Conrad Allen posted something on his Facebook page today that said, small business owners, government will not save you. open up and save yourselves. And I think that's where we're at.
There you go.
There
That's
are no
the first
monies
part
for
of the
me.
video.
That-
So he's gonna, and the video is about 25 minutes long, and we need to post the link on that because it is really interesting, the whole thing. I think it's
And
got
who is this?
Bill Bader Jr. He owns Summit. His family, his dad started it. They've owned it for like 40, 50 years. They got a drag strip in Ohio.
Oh.
He just invested like $3.5 million, repaved it, new grandstands, everything. Now they're saying you can't open your place. He's saying, how do I pay this kind of money back? How do I can, my employee, I'm down to 3 employees working part-time. He says, if I open up now, I'm hoping that I can survive to 2021. And he said, small business owner, I think this is getting close to 500,000 views. It's went viral. Not one, or maybe not. Try to find the negative comment in there. I mean, comments up the galore on this, people supporting him in this endeavor. So play the clip go to about 14:30 on this clip and play that one from Bill Bader.
And the
Jr.
link is in the comment section on Facebook if
You're
you want
awesome.
to click on it. I'll take credit for it. But
Business is not done in the theoretical. Business is done in reality, and reality is different. In the case of Summit Motorsports Park, the reality of it is we've had a couple really wet years. That's a reality. The reality is that I spent $1.5 million on a new racing surface, and I borrowed the money for it. The reality is I spent $500,000 in lighting upgrades. I borrowed the money for it. The reality of it is I bought land, 130 acres. About $3.5 million I've spent in the last 3 years. Why? Because I wanted to have a nicer facility. The Bader way was always to reinvest everything you had into your racetrack. That was my dad's philosophy, and that's my philosophy. The problem is there was nothing in the war chest. I didn't plan for a pandemic. I never put money away for the rainy day. I spent and I spent and I spent because I believed in the future. And that's biting me in the ass right now. So while we sit in college and college professors teach us that we should have X amount in savings and in theory we should do all these things. If college professors were that damn smart, they would be in business, not teaching business.
There you go.
The theoretical
of that, again, it's like all these academics and test tube guys are killing us. And he said he's going to release a schedule next week. Orders, no orders. He's rocking and rolling at his racetrack. And I say more power to him. And more people need to start. We need to start, I believe, maybe we need to start banding together and saying, let's the heck with this stuff. I mean, we're all not 3 years old. We don't have to ask our parents if we can go outside. You're killing us. All this stimulus money and something, is going to have to be paid back or something, or your dollar's going to be devalued. You're going to have less at the end of the deal by what we're doing. Yeah, we may temporary paper over it, but there's going to be a big price to pay for this at the end of the tunnel when we get to the end of when this all affects out. If we don't turn it around quickly. I mean, they're rallying up in Michigan at there. And see if you can find, I think we had it yesterday.
Are you trying to start like a protest?
It's that's what we talked about yesterday. If they're not opening this stuff up on May 1st, we need to start marching on May 2nd.
What's your chant? Do it. Do it. Do it.
Oh.
I love it.
Be a man! Stop the ban!
I'm telling. No, it is. I feel like we're watching an episode of Married with Children.
No, but he's not saying it right.
He's not doing it right at all. But I mean, what does he do right?
Well, there you go. Find the one of the mayor of,
kidding.
and I think it was in the email, might have been yesterday, or could be in the IEN 11, of Mayor Goodman in Las Vegas. She said the same thing. She said, "You're killing my city." She's the mayor of Las Vegas. She's feuding with the governor. The governor's got the state shut down. She's the mayor of Las Vegas, Sin City, with all the lights and the gambling and everything going on.
Is Vegas still closed?
Yes.
I totally forgot about that.
What goes in Vegas stays in Vegas, and
Well,
there's
you
nothing
ain't
staying
going.
there. Yes, there's nothing going on there because they got it locked down. of what's going on. She's saying this is ridiculous. That's her word. She said it from the dais at the council meeting, at the city of Las Vegas council meeting where she is mayor of that. And she's again, we're at this precipice on the deal of, hey, let's deal realistically with what's going on. You can't look at the damage economically to people's mental states that you have with people
Seriously.
keeping. Yes,
Like the mental state of people are like they're losing it.
you can. I think you can really relate to that part.
Wow. What the hell are you trying to say, Roy?
But I mean, seriously.
But no, really.
Everybody's getting cabin fever.
Someone's gonna get hurt. It's not gonna be me. It's probably gonna be Roy.
Of that. Exactly. I mean, what is the deal of like the drive-in theater? That's what at
That
least
really bumps me out because at least I had that to take my kids to, and now I got nothing. Now I just got a stick to beat Roy with. And again, if anyone
See,
would
the
like me to beat
frustration
Roy,
is
go ahead
building
and
up.
Right in.
Look at last week. It was like tap, tap, tap. Now it's kablam. I'm telling you, people are they're going crazy.
Yeah, really.
And that's what Greg Abbott did. He next week, starting Monday, I think he opened it. You can go out in the parks. The parks are opened up as long as you keep social distancing and what. But he said we're phasing it in. Looks like I'm hoping by May 1st, Texas is going to be the first one to lift the ban or let the ban expire. We're up and running. And as we put on the map yesterday that was shown at President Trump, we're on the low end, the light green, in like Texas and California, on the danger or whatever's going on this. There's no reason to be keeping the whole state of California locked down. L.A. maybe a few restrictions in Riverside County because there was stuff going on. But we're going to play what was said, hopefully when we come back on the second half of the hour, we'll play a couple clip from the Board of Supervisors meeting, March 17th, no, March 13th, I think. March, what was it? April 15th. No, it was March. It was almost a month ago.
So confused.
Of that at the Board of Supervisors meeting where the expert doctor predicted 4,000 deaths just in Coachella, which is the east end of Riverside County, Indio to Blythe, in that area. There's 200,000 people. There's less than 10% of our population. And he said, well, this could cause 4,000 deaths in Coachella, just alone on that. No wonder the Board of Supervisors is freaking panicked and everything else on this stuff. What do we have? 59, as of yesterday, 59 total deaths in
Well, I mean, you can't blame them for
Riverside
maybe,
County.
like you said, maybe they panicked. They're following what other leaders are doing. I think we need to just roll some kitten videos and make everyone freaking happy that's watching our damn show because I'm so tired of talking about this Corona stuff.
kitten video.
I don't know, something. Jesse?
Oh, man. No, we should be running videos of drag racing cars going down
No!
Bill Bader Jr.'s drag strip in Ohio
I mean, maybe one. Let's support them.
instead of watching the 1997 Winter Nationals over at Pomona or something for the 87th time.
Knocking down flowers.
Instead of
I say we talk football again because that was fun.
yes.
Or baseball.
Baseball, yeah, baseball's. Look they're talking about in California, no sports, nothing, no gatherings at all for the rest of this year into 2021.
Well, that's just stupid.
Yes.
We'll make our own baseball team. Who are we going to be?
We're going to be the stand up, be a man baseball.
No! We'll think of a cool name. I need money, though, to make jerseys. Give me like a couple $100. I'll get them like never.
No,
But we should do. Oh, we can't go to a freaking park.
yeah.
Damn it.
That's why I say
That would be fun to let's do like a
they've
little
got
baseball game.
they've got unrealistic lockdown measures on this stuff. I mean, they're canceling. Again, are we even going to open up I'm looking at this the way they're talking about. You're going to be lucky if they open up the school year on the middle of August like they normally do. Well,
Take that back.
have I been right in all them school predictions?
I don't want to talk about it.
Somebody said, no, there's no way that can happen.
But you know what? Our school district is handling it amazing. The teachers are like, I mean, it's all confusing for everybody, but I like what's going on with the students, and they get to do the Zoom meetings with their classmates, so they get to see some of their friends. They're doing tests. They're keeping their curriculum going. So, I mean, that's always good to see as a parent. It's confusing as hell, though. Let me
It
tell you.
is. It's-
And thank God, like, I know how to work a computer because this guy would be screwed if he had to hook up with Zoom meetings and tests.
Oh, yeah.
It would never happen.
Yes, there you go.
Ever.
I can barely turn the computer on.
Say good job to the district.
Good job for what?
Just say good job. I know. Whatever.
No, I mean, they are, and it
doing
probably is.
All the kids are still getting
I
fed.
I think what I predicted that schools are going to go more to this online, if not 100% to online schools and everything. Remember, the Ditch Bank Okie from Edgemont, it's on tape, predicted this a couple years ago.
Say good job to the district.
Good job to Roy for predicting what's happening today.
Say good job to the district.
If they would have put into policies like I told them and expanded
I'll get him
that,
to say it.
they would have been much more prepared and seamless to do this. They'd have been rock and rolling because the kids would have already been doing this.
They already do homeschooling with the district. They offer that already.
On a very limited basis.
Yeah. So they were already kind of prepared a little bit. And yeah, I'm sure you were all to blame or to thank for that. So say
Yeah.
good job to the district for getting your idea
How
going.
about a thank you to Roy for bringing these very important matters to
Whatever. I
light?
give up on you.
Hey guys.
How you doing, Sean? We're about ready to rock and roll on the Mighty Met 1490 on that.
Stephanie, I've got some really, really bad news for you. I know. I hope you're sitting down, but oh yeah, you are.
Duh.
Taylor Swift canceled her tour for 2020.
No! I can't stand that new song of hers, though. It drives me insane. No offense.
Well,
if
you
you're
won't be
watching
able to
Taylor,
hear it
not the,
live anyway because.
Dang it. Sean, I got you tickets too for your birthday.
What are you trying to make Sean commit suicide or something?
30 seconds.
Oh, when you bring sad news like that before my show starts. It's just-
Well, I
I
thought
don't
you
even
were-
think I'd be let into one of her concerts.
No, I
I'm
did like her.
50-year-old male. She wouldn't even let me in.
Yeah, she wouldn't. I did like her for a minute, and then that song came out, and I can't. It really sucks.
All right, guys, here we go.
D90AM.com and download your free phone app today.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed for this station in its way, not necessarily representative of
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes in every 5:30 Monday through Friday on the Mighty Met 1490 KMET on a
Fast Friday.
And it
wow,
is-
you are so boring on your intro.
wow.
You sound so sad. Or something. I don't know. Right?
On that, we are at least there's
wrong.
getting some cracks in the dam. There's been some political fights going on. New York Governor Mario Cuomo called for the firing of Fauci, Birx, CDC director, and everybody on the task force. We had the Twitter wars and press conference wars and everything going on. Hopefully, we'll have Dr. Kelly Victory on here in a couple minutes to make sense of all this stuff. Are we open? What should we be doing? What should be the advice going on back and forth? Because she's been, in my opinion, been spot on with all the stuff she's been bringing out. She's been taking a realistic approach to this, not the draconian measures that have been going on all across the board that we've been suffering under time and time again. And maybe that's what maybe I'm just getting COVID-19 fatigue over all this stuff.
I am. I'm so sick of talking about it. I mean, I like that we covered it on our show, so I'm not saying like let's stop because that's what everybody's talking about. But is there anything else going on in the world?
No, it's COVID-19 24/7 365.
I'm telling you, we need to bring in kitten videos or something that's just going to make me happy. Because now I'm getting hooked on TikTok, and I'm like too old for that, apparently. Don't agree with me.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that one coming out. And
It's horrible. I can't do any of the damn dances either. It pisses me off. My kids are staring at me like I'm an idiot. It makes me mad. Stop laughing at me.
Oh, well, I gotta laugh else I'd cry over this whole situation on that. But hopefully, to shed some a shinier light on this whole situation, we have the trauma surgeon, disaster preparedness expert, consultant to many major corporations like Walgreens and anything else. She's been the physician we have went to on the show that I believe has had not only the most realistic, but probably the most optimistic or look at this, or realistic, I guess is a better term, realistic look at what we should have done, what we should be doing, and what we should be doing in the future. And to break down all the events that have went down on COVID 24/7, 365, welcome to the show, Kelly Victory with Stephanie and Roy.
Hey, Stephanie and Roy, great to be back with you at the end of a long week. Who would have ever thought that we'd long for the good old days when we talked 24/7 about Russia collusion?
Yeah, and impeachment and stuff, man.
Exactly. Wait, remember back then when things were great?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been an interesting week and an interesting last 24 hours in the coronavirus saga. As you guys undoubtedly know, there are finally some studies coming out of major universities that are backing up or substantiating the sorts of things that I've been saying all along, which is that this has been out there for way longer than anybody thought that it had been. The virus has been around way before they started testing for it, and a whole heck of a lot more of us have likely been exposed and already are immune to it, and that's a great thing. And I've been saying that for, as you guys know, for many weeks or months. I believe that there's a far larger percentage of the population that has had coronavirus, has recovered from it, has antibodies, and therefore is immune to it. And this is all great news because it really feeds into the new plan, which is to open the dang country back up and get the economy going again.
Exactly right. And we're going to play a clip. This is from the Riverside, since we're all in Riverside County, I think. This is a clip about a month ago at the Riverside County Board of Supervisors. A Dr. Richard Loftus is testifying at that, saying 4,000 deaths are possible in Coachella, which is about 200,000 out of a population of Riverside County of about 2.5 million. So it's less than 10%, and he's predicting that in front of the Board of Supervisors. Run this few seconds of this clip, and I want to get Kelly's reaction of that on the it's in the IE11 ones, if you have that. Well, anyway, I'll just paraphrase it. He was before the Board of Supervisors, and I don't know if you know him, Dr. Richard Loftus, and he said a month ago, he said 4,000 deaths just in Coachella, a less than 10% of Riverside County was going to go on. No wonder these guys, supervisors and stuff, were panicked.
Well, it's really a shame, Roy, because as you said, Loftus predicted or suggested, I should say, that upwards of, he said, 4,000. He talked about a group of people over 65 and then people under 40. And all in all, he said essentially 2% of the population is going to die. which is insanity. And it hasn't been anywhere near, I mean, his numbers were so off. And I would like to believe that medical experts or people who the county and other politicians are relying on to make these decisions that then, impact grossly what we are doing in the economy. I would like to think that they aren't just at home with a Ouija board. I'd like to think that there's some element of science to it. I mean, I could have thrown spaghetti at the wall and guessed better than these guys have.
Exactly. And I mean, they were behind, or as you say, if this has already went through in one wave or something, as studies are now coming out of that, or that we don't know the amount of people are. So if you just test a few small couple thousand cases or 20,000 people and then divide it by 1,000 deaths or something like that, you're going to get like you say, you're going to get a death rate that says, oh my gosh, this is the second coming of the Spanish flu we got going on here. We've got to, panic, lock down everything, yada, yada, yada. He said this is potentially the worst case that we've had breakout in 500 years, and he's telling this to the supervisors.
Right, and what you have to remember, and what your listeners have to remember, Roy, is that we have been up to this point testing an extraordinarily small subset of the people who actually likely have the virus. The people who get tested right now are people who have symptoms, and not only symptoms, but significant symptoms. In a virus that we know upwards of 80% of people have minimal or no symptoms whatsoever. So that is why the study that finally came out today from Stanford is so important. What they did was they tested a large group of people from Santa Clara, a relatively small community, but they tested a huge group of people, many of whom had no symptoms, never recalled being ill, nothing whatsoever. And even with that, they found that probably somewhere about 4% of the residents already have antibodies. So 4% of the people up there had antibodies, although most of them don't recall having ever been ill. So 1,000 total people had been tested in that county before. 1,000 had tested and to determine if they actually had the virus. Now they're saying that we're figuring it's probably around 80,000 people actually have it in Santa Clara. So the numbers are likely off by a factor of, this is per Stanford's estimates, not mine today. Stanford's saying the estimates are off by a factor of somewhere between 50 and 85 times. Okay, that's Ouija board territory.
Again, I crack up on that. Explain to the folks and I think it relates, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it relates to the herd immunity. Explain to them how antibodies of COVID-19 relates to herd immunity, and how that potentially is a good thing, and how eventually, if this goes that way, the virus will eventually die a death.
Great question. So herd immunity as a concept is really the fundamental way that we protect large populations from any given pathogen. You need upwards of 92, 93% of a population to have immunity to a disease in order to protect the 7 or 8% who don't have immunity. So there are two ways to become immune to something. Number one, you can become immune because you get a vaccine to it, and that's why we strongly recommend, and I'm a huge proponent of most vaccines, meaning for measles, polio, mumps, chickenpox, those sorts of things, because we immunize people with a vaccine. They are protected because they develop antibodies to it and therefore can't get the disease, and therefore an outbreak never starts, and we protect that small number of people who, for whatever reason, can't be vaccinated because maybe they're too young or they're too old or they're immunocompromised. The other way to become immune, if not by a vaccine, is to actually get the dang disease. be exposed to it, and let your body do what it will do naturally, develop antibodies, particularly when it's something that has really a relatively low, it's not lethal. It's not a particularly serious illness like COVID. As I said, upwards of 85% of people have minimal or no symptoms whatsoever, and another 10% might have, a runny nose, a fever, feel lousy for 10 days, aches and chills, whatever, but they develop antibodies. And that herd immunity, Roy, is critically important. So 2 ways to get it, either through a vaccine or through being exposed. And when the illness isn't particularly serious in the vast majority of people, then getting natural immunity, by being exposed to it is probably the best way to go.
It came out in the LA Times yesterday in an article and I'm quoting from the LA Times, in Los Angeles County, 88% of those who have died as a result of COVID-19 had other health problems. That underscores the need for all of us to work together to possible those who have underlying health issues to remain in their homes. Again, and 30% of the deaths, 400 in LA, I think we have 985, I don't know if it correlates statewide. 30% have been in nursing homes. 70% of the deaths in Long Beach have been in nursing homes. This started with the first public or main thing was in a nursing home of the hospice care in Seattle. Yes, if you're very sick, if you're old and you're in a nursing home, yeah, this thing could be very deadly. For the rest of the population, I'm just a layman, no doctor give legal medical advice, but I don't see the big danger in everybody dying from this, and I think potentially, and I want to get your opinion on this, is there a possibility of doing the draconian measures of slowing it down if we do get a rebound like Fauci and some have said? Could this come back even stronger or worse, or we be in a deeper pickle than if we kind of let this thing run its course?
Well, great question, because coronaviruses, all viruses are able to mutate. Coronaviruses are particularly savvy at it. They're very good and quick at mutating, so you always worry, can this thing mutate so that either a vaccine won't work or the antibodies that people developed won't work anymore because the vaccine or because the virus has changed over time. The biggest issue is that the more quickly we can get to herd immunity, the better. So I believe that continuing social distancing is actually a bad thing because, as I've said over and over again, this is not a particularly lethal virus. Now, once again, and I will say it over and over, I have never said that this virus is a hoax. I've never said it's not real. I've never said it would not say that, it is not serious in certain people and that we won't have a significant number of people die from it. In the same way, Roy, that we have a significant number of deaths every year from influenza. Viruses are nasty things, and people in a certain population can get quite ill from them. As of this morning, the CDC is estimating that we've had somewhere probably upwards of 35,000 deaths in the United States from influenza this season, which puts it right about the number of coronavirus deaths. They're serious. But the point is, how do we protect the people who are truly at risk, which is, as you pointed out again, those people over 65 with ongoing and serious underlying health issues, and some subset of people who are otherwise immunocompromised because, for example, they're on chemotherapy. So the goal is, how do we protect those people? And I would submit to you, the way we protect those people is not by keeping everybody else locked in their houses and not working. Let's protect the 10% of the population that's really at risk and let the other 90% get the heck back to work.
I agree with everything she says. And I know there's some people, we do have a lot of people in the comments and, they're worried about their health and they want people to wear their masks and stay home. And I do get that and I do respect that. However, I think it is physically impossible to not spread it.
Well,
at some point, it's so hard not to. You go to the store, you touch something with your gloves on, but then you go home and you touch the same thing. It makes no sense.
And I would ask those folks, Stephanie, they say, and I understand that really their hearts are in the right places, their
Exactly.
minds are in the right places. But so I'm not in any way undermining what their intentions are. But I would ask them, why haven't they stayed home from October 1st to April 15th every year during, influenza season? Why haven't they locked themselves in a bubble and relegated themselves to, Netflix and, takeout for half the year every year? Why have they allowed themselves to be exposed to, I don't know, people who, aren't vaccinated against measles or what these things are out there. And so I'm not making light of it because I believe they have truly been terrorized by bad information. And so my goal has been to suffer the slings and arrows from those who would like to shut me down, and more bring a voice of reason out there and give people some balance and say, you've been duped. You've been, thrown into fear against reason. And I feel for you. And I'm trying to bring some balance and say, no, this is a bad virus, but influenza is also a bad virus. So I'd use the same standards for going out in public that you would for influenza.
Exactly. And it is sad to see. I mean, even myself, too. I was scared. I got nervous. I went to the store, and it was like doomsday. It was crazy. And that fear is real. But at the same time, you got to kind of step back and think, how protected am I really going to be by doing all these little things that they're telling me I need to do versus my mental health, taking my kids outside. I mean, there's just so much damage being done than any good coming from this that I see personally.
Fear is a very powerful narcotic, and it's a great way to control the masses. And fear is incredibly controlling. And so I understand why people are reacting the way they are, because your average layperson has no reason to understand the science. But bad on the people in public health and bad on those people who are in a position of authority for not sorting this out to the lay people. There are lots of things that would scare the bejesus out of me. If you could put up a lot of graphs and things on, economics or I don't know what, other things, where I'd say, oh my God, that looks awful. I'm about to be broke. And I wouldn't know the difference. But I rely on trusted voices. And unfortunately, I think that we are in the 24/7 news cycle where everybody on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter is a, self-proclaimed expert. And so people get exposed to a tremendous amount of information that is disinformation. And I'm hoping that now that you are starting to see not only the curves aren't just flattening, they're doing a swan dive, okay? People aren't dying. And in fact, the only way that they're keeping the numbers up to the levels they are is by, frankly, tossing a bunch of people into the coronavirus death bucket that don't actually have confirmed coronavirus at all. So they have manipulated the numbers to as best they can, because frankly, I think it's a bit of an embarrassment that they shut down the entire country on the basis of something that has ended up being about on par with the seasonal flu.
And I just want those of you watching our video cast, the reason we're laughing over here is there's a bee in studio.
I put it in the comments.
And yes.
It's not even a bee, it's a fly.
Yes, and our
It's a
engineer
fly.
was freaking out, or whatever it was, he was freaking out in that. I was reading on the CDC website about viruses and air and stuff like that, and they said, you know what? One of the best ways to spread this stuff is to be locked up inside in air conditioning that's spreading this stuff. Where's this stuff breaking out? In New York City and our densest population. Now they got us locked inside of our homes. They said some of the times some of the best things to do is get outside and get some fresh air.
Is that
in
sunlight?
in this stuff. And they're telling us all to stay home, and if you go outside you may kill your mother and all this stuff on the PSAs. I mean, it makes my head spin.
No, you are so right, Roy. And it's interesting because if you look back at the reports from way back in 1918, from what we called at the time the Spanish flu epidemic, which killed an enormous number of Americans and people around the globe. What we know now was the original avian flu. If you read those reports from back in 1918, 1919, what you hear is that the people who did the best were people who were convalescing outside. They did not have access to ICUs and the tremendous hospital wards that we have now. So they had huge wards of people with the Spanish flu, and they convalesced them, covered in blankets, sitting out on the veranda, and those people did miraculously well. We know that the best way to spread any epidemic is to keep people aside. That's why cruise ships and prisons and schools, places where people are closely confined, are great ways to spread it. So staying inside with your kids and your family isn't necessarily the best way to stay well, particularly when you're making a thrice weekly outing to the Costco. So this whole thing has been a bit of a charade from my perspective. And I say that, at the risk once again of being, excoriated by those on the other side, but I stand by it. And I stand by the idea that my job in public health is to tell people the unvarnished truth. When there are times where it is devastating, and I want people to listen to me when I say it's devastating. The problem when you overshoot, when you overreact, when you overreach, and you wildly rely on models that are grossly invalid, you lose the public trust, and it becomes extraordinarily difficult to regain that trust when you actually need it. When that thing comes along where you want people to say, wow, she's usually the voice saying the opposite, and if she's saying this is the real one, I need to listen. And that, from my perspective, is the best thing I can do in public health, is to give people the truth. And this one isn't the one I think we need to keep, doubling down and locking down about.
We got a couple minutes left. I want to get your quick reaction to that. There was a war that broke out on Twitter in the press conference between Andrew Cuomo, governor of New York, and Donald Trump today. Essence of it was they were battling back and forth who did what, and Andrew Cuomo, at the end of his press conference, came out and said, you know what, we base this on your projections that, like you're saying, 1 million deaths, all this. He said, if you want to take care of this, and he had a kind of a blank-eaten grin on his face, he said, fire Fauci, Birx, CDC director, and everybody on your COVID-19 team making these wild predictions. That's why we asked for the hospitals and everything else. 2 minutes left. I'll get your reaction to that and let you wrap it up.
Well, that was somewhat predictable, because when the facts come out and everybody realizes that this was a charade, everyone starts pointing their fingers. So, it becomes a little bit of a, everyone points in the other direction is all I can say. I hate to believe that there are political things behind anyone's motivations to make a particular prediction. My motivations remain centered in healthcare and in trying to provide the most balanced view of any particular incident, whether it's a mass shooting or a pandemic. And all I can say is we need to remove the political motivations from anyone who's in a position of power and providing, any direction to somebody like President Trump or any other president, regardless of party, because these things have dire implications for our economy and for our population. So hopefully we are well on the road now to recovery. I'm hopeful that people will get back out there and say, I will take the next admonitions with a big grain of salt, in fact, with a salt lick.
There you go. I'm saying Dr. Kelly Victory for Surgeon General of the United States of America.
Yeah, and thank you for all you do, because I know that you speak honest, and I know that backlash that comes along with it, and thank you for just sticking to it, because not a lot of people are like that these days.
I appreciate it, and be well. Have a great weekend, and we'll back with the updates next week, no doubt.
You got it. Thanks for keeping us sane, Dr. Kelly Victory, in a world that sometimes goes insane on us.
Talk soon.
You got it, man.
Love
That
her.
again, I go with the brick bats. I mean, we've been taking a lot of brick bats for this stuff too, on that, along with that. But I think in the end, we won't know in the end, but we'll see how it all shakes out. Kind of like the school thing did on the between Reno Valley School District.
Again, say good job, Moreno Valley Unified School District.
Great job, Roy. You called
Damn, I thought you were going to say it. Whatever.
We'll be back next Monday. I'm sure the weekend will bring us some new stuff on that. Hopefully, more good news on that. And as we usually say,
Go wash your hands.
we're gone.